Oh, cool. There I am. I think what I need right now. Seeing it? And what is the deal, boys and girls? I'm your man, Mark Gray. Thanks for hanging out with me This is the Mark Gray Show here on Sportsrap Radio 1270. I'm glad to have you along for the ride as always. As we head into the dog days of sports talk, we do have a lot to talk about on this afternoon. Just finished with the NBA draft. Rather interesting in these parts. You go to the G League Ignite, and many people around the league that I've talked to are thinking that perhaps the Pistons have come off of one of the steals of the draft. We'll talk about that a little bit later on in the program. Also, we're going to talk some NFL. And one of the things that's on my mind as we approach training camp is hangover. And to me, that's the biggest dilemma that's facing the Lions this year. Hangover. Okay. Are you really um, over a gut wrenching loss psychologically so that it doesn't affect you in more moments that are big down the line that you're going to need to execute in? So those are some of the things that have come to mind with me. We're also going to talk some trading deadline stuff with the Tigers. And I'm going to tell you, Tigers need to make a call to Baltimore. Baltimore has an embarrassment of wealth that they don't know what to do with in the minor league, and they need to move Jack Flaherty back to Baltimore and see if they can get a couple of prospects, because Baltimore is 3 arms down for a team that thinks they can get to the World Series. And there's some plenty of picking that can be done in that farm system. It is number one in baseball for a reason. You got to pitch an asset. You got to make a call. I'm not saying they're going to answer. I'm not saying that they're going to, jump to the top of the line and try to make a move that will require giving up draft picks. Okay, or in this case, minor league products. I don't think that is the case here. I think Baltimore needs to make a move by the trading deadline. You can get good quick with a couple of players that you fleece from a team that's in contention right now. And again, what is front office maneuvering? Is trying to fleece a guy, get the better of the deal. It's always wonderful when everything works out for anybody, but sometimes that just does not happen. Okay. But I wanted to look back on the week that was, because ironically enough, first night of the NBA draft is the night of the debate. And I have to comment on the stupidity of 45. I mean, yeah, Biden looks like a fossil, but this guy, and since he put it out there, I'm going to go ahead and use it to open up my show here, because I'm so glad, and I'd like to welcome everybody to Good Black Job Day. That's right, I got a good black job. And guess what? I'm not scared about immigrants taking it. I got my job with the borders being open. It's a great thing. Okay? And I guess so here's this guy who's done less to help anybody like me talking about good black jobs. I got one. And I don't feel like if the borders are left open for people looking for freedom, that my job is in peril. I'm sorry, I just don't see it. But again, this Bama, all right, 45. I mean, I can't believe that. I'm still trying to figure it out. And if you got any thoughts on that, please feel free, because this is next level right here. I mean, now again, it's not as good a black job as, say, being a first round NBA draft pick. Oh yeah, even if you're from France. Which brings us to another topic that we'll be discussing a little bit later on, is the French Connection. Wasn't that a movie back in the day after the dropping of The Godfather? And for those of you who are millennials, you'll have to Google all this. But those of you who are OGs like me, remember like the French Connection. I think Gene Hackman was in that. It was pretty much a gangster movie, but I guess you could say that the French are now going gangster in the NBA. We thought that we had seen it all with Victor Wembanyama last year, and here you got four guys in the first round from France. Which, if you look between the lines, boys and girls, okay, this is setting up for a very disappointing USA men's basketball team, even with LeBron on there. And oh yeah, LeBron's first time in the Olympics, he got a bronze. Larry Brown had a lot to do with that. Okay. So we'll talk about that down the line. But the point I'm trying to make is France, Joel Embiid, Victor Wembanyama. I mean, goodness me, Tony Parker knowing the international game, he knows how to beat Team USA. I mean, with all due respect, we may be sending the best team that we think we have. I think the best team in the tournament could be France, and I'm not pleased about that at all. That's one of the rites of passage in my lifetime that I think, for real, that will change the dynamic of basketball as we know it. I'm sorry. And for real, I gotta believe that in this moment, at this time, Grant Hill is really on blast. Grant Hill and Steve Kerr are on blast in the Olympics. Nobody's talking about it yet. We just came off the rush, and fortunately for USA men's basketball, you've got the WNBA that's doing their thing. Okay, I really, really think that this could be a silver medal team at best. And all you got to do is look at the draft. Don't go around and think that the French don't have a few other foreign players or maybe players who couldn't stick around in the NBA that's going to be ready for Team USA when that tournament starts. This ain't a gimme anymore, y'all. And it dates back to about 20 years ago. Uh, After the last year, the Pistons won the championship. Remember, Kobe couldn't go to that Olympics, so they were banking on LeBron and Carmelo Anthony, but Larry Brown didn't want to play Carmelo Anthony. Remember that? He didn't want to play LeBron together. He wanted young boys to wait. So, all things considered, when I look at this big picture from the draft, having we've just gone through it, and the French are the deal. I mean, the French connection is on. There's no way in the world that you can't buy an Olympic gold medal not going to the United States men. Women, I think they're going to handle their business. They better, but I think they are. I think the women sweep. They take 3-on-3 and they take the gold medal. I think it's like 8 in a row now. Men, I don't know. And again, as always, we encourage you to join the party. And I am streaming a little something as best I can via these Facebook apparatus. So if you can check us out right now on Facebook and you want to join the party that way, feel free to do so as we continue to rock on. But that does bring us back to, and I thought, I definitely spent too much time watching NBA draft stuff. I did, and I'm the last person in the world that really wants to be out there. Drafts and training camps are just the worst. I've never done a spring training. That seemed like it would be pretty cool hanging out for a month or so in Arizona or Florida in late February if you're from our part of the world. That's not a bad prospect. Anyway, those are a couple of the things that have caught my attention. And oh yeah, by the way, we must we must take the people's assessment. That's right. I want to hear from you. Since I'm supposed to be, as a black man, scared of the borders being left open so somebody can take my good black job. I'm anxious to get your thoughts in what kind of jobs are in peril, what qualifies as a good black job. I mean, there's so many layers to offense, and unfortunately, Biden just couldn't step up for himself. But if you got to roll him into the office in a wheelchair and give him the power of the pen, got to make it happen. A good black, how condescending is that? I mean, wow, that's a pretty broad, and quite frankly, disparaging statement towards us, you know, the folk who roll like this. So we interested in hearing from you early and often. Certainly as we break down this NBA stuff, and in particularly from the perspective of the French connection, because it's kind of crazy. We're gonna break this down, but two picks, first two picks from France. You gotta believe that these guys are farther along and more mature, and this is going to help them earn their stripes, if you will. Of course, Alex Sarr is, from Australia, so I was getting him confused with another couple of the other French kids. But long story short, if things work out, you're going to have a dynamic three set in the backfield. If Ron Holland II is that dude, if he comes in and is the perfect complement to Cade Cunningham, it could get special, and it could get special quick, because this is blasphemy. Okay. Wow. I don't think since Chauncey and the boys, um, I don't know if we've seen a better tandem in the backcourt in Detroit. I mean, I'm thinking you got that three-headed monster. It's a totally different league right now. You're playing a lot more aggressive, wide open stuff, and lo and behold, you got a three-headed monster potentially with the Pistons. You know, again, now a little bit later, we're gonna come back on the other side, because here's where this thing goes tragically wrong. You are now trying to hire a coach to fit a team. And as wonderful a talent as Ron Holland appears to be, you don't know who the next coach is. And in your first act, you're drafting players without having a coach. And that normally is not a recipe for success. Anyway, my name is Mark Gray. I spell it Mark with a K, Gray with an A. It's Sports Rap 1270. What? What do you mean? I'm on break. Yeah. Huh? I can't. I'm trying to figure that out now. All right. Oh, damn it. Yo, what's the deal? Mark Gray back with you. I can be found on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. I mean, however you get your social media groove on, I am there. Check out debatable MLBbro.com. You just heard, you got JR every day this week and every week. So you need to go ahead and check the whole party out because you know how we do it. We proud of our good black jobs. Anyway, we're gonna recap this NBA draft. And again, the more and more you look at the measurables as it relates, and I will say this: to not have a coach like Trajan Langdon has, and he's really under the hot seat. I don't know if he was burnt out more from the draft process on Thursday, or whether or not he was just I don't know, exasperated and thinking, okay, I got a guy that I want in Ron Holland, but who's gonna coach him? Especially when you're paying Monty Williams a sick amount of bank these days. But who do you get? And again, to me, when you developing a young team, I think a guy like JB Bickerstaff has to be considered. There's just something about his fit there, unless you go out and you get a Mike Budenholzer type, somebody that's gonna teach, coach hard, and put his players in position to win. And if they're not going to win, they're going to develop. So I look at those two guys as guys that I would like to see as coach. Because you need a youngster, a talent developer. Heck, you're not going to get Eric Spoelstra from South Beach because to me he would be that guy. It's like he's I don't know where Steve Kerr was maybe 4 years ago when Steph Curry and um, Clay Thompson were at their peak. They were just knocking it down. And they're a team that's in transition either. For all the people are floating out there in regards to the Lakers, and we have to open up the can on, Team Clutch Sports. It's only a matter of time before the Lakers are owned by LeBron. If you can make the compelling argument that he's already the owner of the team. I mean, really. Now again, I was one of those people who didn't jump on the LeBron bandwagon until about 4 or 5 years in. All right, he was like that. He earned it. But I didn't see Bronny James last year, and it's kind of hard to be this judgmental when you got to add the fact that this is a kid who has a heart condition. And you can say that he's well, he's under doctor care, but he almost collapsed. I mean, he had people really scared about his life. And you wonder, with that in the background and a so-so year of college basketball. I mean, remember, that was a recruitative year. Now, if you're the Lakers and you're a standard bearing organization, I mean, you're one of the greatest teams in pro sports, right? So if that's your case in life, and you desperately trying to win something other than the in-season tournament. I mean, the last two championships the Lakers have won have been in a bubble and the in-season tournament. So that would lead me to believe that every roster and every spot on said team has to be accounted for. It's kind of like, doing stock if you're working retail. If you're crunching the numbers, they got to add up. And I'm trying to think for that spot. And it was a second round pick. All right, I'll grant you that. But the fact of it is, we didn't have enough of a sample size last year at USC to know whether or not that young man can play in the league. You're drafting him straight on upside. Heck, the best basketball player on that campus was Juju Watkins last year, if you want to be real about it. So here we got Bronny James getting a sweet deal. I mean, Rich Paul is running the league. It is the Clutch Sports League. And you know what's happening? That's great. And I've seen a lot of chatter on social media this week about that just shows that LeBron has power. Okay. All right. We got power now. He'll probably have power to own a team. He will. But in this moment, you know, this defiance of the way things are done by the domestic black players is allowing more opportunities for the foreign black players to get their shine. They're going to get their opportunity. And what we're looking at, boys and girls, and remember, it's June 29th, 2024. Okay. We're going to see the outsourcing of the NBA the same way Major League Baseball has outsourced America's national pastime. I said it. Outsourcing is coming. I mean, look, that's what Dominican players are, right? You're outsourcing. You go outside the country, you go outside your company, you get an employee in there, they rock stars. Great. So you continue to work it like that. Same thing's going to happen to basketball. And you got enough black African players, NBA Africa, and enough black French players. And then you got a few English guys that are getting it in these days. Oh, you know, and it's all the NCAA's fault. Let's just put that out there. If the NCAA had done right about all college sports, we wouldn't have this frenzy. And what ultimately happens is, and I can see it because I'm old enough to watch. I grew up as a baseball fan, and because that's where the brothers were playing. I could see people like me performing on my television at a high level frequently. The only difference that's going to happen with basketball is they're going to speak with an accent. It'll probably be more European, but that's what's going to happen. And good, bad, or indifferent, if you're bringing championships back to the place, to the city where you're buying your season tickets, doesn't matter. But I want to tell you, AA moms and the AAU moms or travel team moms and dads, you better watch this trend. And you might want to reassess your possibilities for professional employment because it's going to get tougher. And all this blinging, all this, players association, management stuff, protect the rights. Guys like Anthony Davis getting coaches fired, and all he did the whole season was what? Do a pretty good job of effectively, I should say, advertising for eyewear. He is a great eyewear model on his load management or, you know, hangnail trip needy days. I can't play. I got a hangnail. I can't play. I don't know what a hangnail is, but I know I got one and I got to play. Where are my shades? Anyway, now again, this brings us back a little closer to home to the draft of Ron Holland II. Okay. Now again, how do you assess somebody that's playing for a team that lost 32 of 34 games? Now he got his 20 points. He got 6.5 rebounds, 2 saves. He's like a wing that has a 6'11" wingspan. So he's going to be a tough player to score on if he's got any lateral movement whatsoever. You know, but he does turn over the ball a lot. So again, the Pistons did go out already and hire Fred Vinson to be a shooting coach. Okay. But he's got some work to do with Holland. And I think that his biggest asset is probably going to be to come in and try to be a stopper. And I will give him some credit. The 1 year that you play in the G League really helps the body mature and to be ready um for the physical nature of the NBA. Cause that rookie league stuff, and again, rookie league in Vegas. Yeah, we want you to go to Vegas and focus on basketball. Well, the only good thing about it is it's hot as hell outside and you can't run the street. But damn, Vegas, the Vegas Summer League. Wow, that just it never has rolled off my tongue, but I guess it will. And again, just thinking about it, this is a one of those picks that I mean, it's almost an all in type of deal for the Pistons right now. I mean, or how do you manage your assets to see if you can get something? Because contention is not an option. We know that. We're not expecting a team to go where potentially Boston could go next year, potentially the Knicks. There are a lot of teams that have made significant moves to upgrade themselves, and with the right tweaking and coaching, I get the feeling that we could have a change into the guard. And then there's this Paul George thing. We never really have heard a lot that. How's Paul Pierce? I'm sorry, uh, Paul George is who I was thinking about, but Paul George adding to a championship mix in Golden State. I mean, that's just one of the many teams that we look at that we find interesting coming out of this draft. Stick with me. Back on the other side, we're going to get the inside scoop on the Pistons draft from Manny Wilson from the Run with Manny Wilson podcast. I'm Mark Gray. It's the Mark Gray Show on 1270 Sports Rap Radio. Mark Gray back with you as we continue Sports Rap 1270 on a Saturday in the D. Thanks for hanging out with us. Joined right now by our good friend Manny Wilson from the Run with Manny Wilson podcast as we break down this aftershock, or was it? That's what it is to me. I guess I come out of this draft, Manny, and thanks as always for joining us. Um, Kind of like shocked. I mean, it's like, yeah, there's a whole lot of potential with Ron Holland, but there's also a lot of things that can go wrong. What do you make of the first pick? And that's the person I was thinking about who probably needed to change the scenery after what went down during the postseason with him. Tim Hardaway Jr. He can hit the wide open shot. You're going to need another person to step up, which I find interesting. But I like the Hardaway acquisition. But to me, the move seemed disjointed because there's not a head coach. And the thing that would concern me uh about the draft pick of Ron Holland is how does he fit with the incoming coach? You know what I'm saying? I don't. I'm still kind of dangling out there. All the intangibles say good pick, solid contributor, but I'm wondering how he fits with the new coach's philosophy. All right, I'll let you go on this one, Manny. What are the characteristics in the coach, given the potential makeup as you see it, um, going into next season? I mean, what would you consider progress from where we are right now? I'm pushing for BJ Bickerstaff or JB Bickerstaff. I'm sorry. or somebody like that. I think he got a raw deal in Cleveland, and I think he's a better coach than that. And I think he could turn things around. I like his basketball philosophy and the way that he connects with his players. But then again, that's just me. Hey, Manny, thanks a lot for the love, my brother. Look forward to doing it again real soon. No worries. That's Manny Wilson from the Run with Manny Wilson podcast. Don't forget you can check that out. But we didn't talk about like the shooting, and you got Tim Hardaway on the cheap from the Dallas Mavericks. Okay. And that's not a bad look. Okay. First off, he's a vet and he can coach some of the, take the whatever the philosophy is. And again, this bass backwards approach to, you know, trying to right the ship by hiring, well, drafting before you have a coach. All right, you got your president of basketball operations at the last damn minute. Trajan Langdon looked like he was ready to pass out during Ron Holland's press interview on Friday, I believe. I guess it was yesterday, and it was just crazy. It was he looked like a man that was tired, and now he's got to go in and he's got to interview the coach, the laborious coaching process. Was he waiting for his Duke brother, JJ Redick, to not land in Los Angeles? That didn't work out. I mean, that's the question right now. It's hard to get so hyped for the Pistons and who they drafted, a guy with great character. And again, you don't want knuckleheads on your team, but you'll take somebody with an edge if they're that difference making player, right? All the great coaches will tell you, especially Jimmy Johnson back in the day, I'll give that guy the benefit of the doubt because he's a better player than you. People are treated a lot different based upon their performance. That's where we go in life. That's how it is in sports. I mean, just it really doesn't make any sense to me. But then again, not much does these days. Anyway, it's your boy Mark Gray. It's the Mark Gray Show on Sportsrap Radio 1270. Got it. So the Pistons front office is busy trying to get a head start on free agency. But again, they have no coach. Okay? And it's a classic case of putting the pot or the cart before the horse, if you will. Wow. Mark Gray is my name. You can find me at The Sports Groove, just one word, all over the place in social media: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Of course, Twitter's now X, but I'm still down there too. Yeah, they extended a qualifying offer to the legend that is Simone Fontecchio. So it's making him a restricted free agent. So if he receives an offer sheet next week or later this offseason, Detroit can match it or let the Italian go. Or, that's basically where it is. Remember, he came, what was that, in that three-team trade with the Jazz that uh, gave up the second round pick, and then they flipped that to take Kyle Filipowski, who fits great in Utah. Perfect landing spot for Kyle Filipowski, an athletic guy, big, get boards. I mean, they can score. I mean, he's not going to be Karl Malone, but they could have done a lot worse. So it'll be interesting to see, where Trajan Langford goes with his coach. I mean, that's the 800-pound gorilla in the room right now. You have got to find yourself a coach. I mean, that this never seems to work well, and wow. And I think at some point Trajan even recognizes that, because at least with the Lakers and the hot mess that they are, and oh yeah, we got to open up the can on them, because the NBA is not right when the Lakers aren't good. And I think the Lakers are going to be grossly disappointing. And they gave up a spot on the bench because of nothing short than nepotism. And I was watching Rob Pelinka, who does a masterful job at deflecting uh, lunacy in the front office. I mean, really, there are no adults in the Lakers front office unless you want to consider Rich Paul, um, unexpected executive vice president of contracts, manipulator of the draft process. I mean, for real. And again, the scouts will tell you that Bronny James is not his dad, but there's tremendous upside. He can shoot, and he's an athlete. So he can play on the wing. He knows the work ethic. He comes from basketball family. He will be a solid NBA player. But if the Lakers are truly committed to that fan base, you can't make that happen. And the problem is nobody knows what the hell they're doing. And I know Rob Pelinka, good Michigan guy, proud of UM. Okay, that's all well and good, but things haven't been working out on the sidelines and in the front office for dudes from UM uh, here recently. We love Juwan. Juwan's going to be a great basketball executive in the NBA. I could see him landing on his feet as an executive in Miami all over again. Didn't work in Ann Arbor for whatever reason. And I thought that was a pretty weak job by Warren Manuel. Let's be clear for a second. I mean, here's a dude that had a health scare, and then you whack him because his team doesn't perform. I would think that just because of the loyalty to the university, you would have given him one more year. I'm like, wow. I mean, we're not talking about Kenny Payne at Louisville. We talking about a dude who went back to back with y'all to the title games. What's up? That's how you do your folk? Unless they're named Tom Brady or Rich Eisen. Ooh, shots fired. Sorry, that's what I do. Anyway, I kind of at this point right now where it's like, okay, this is where the grown-ups and the franchise ownership have got to step up and figure this out quick, fast, in a hurry. I mean, there's no reason. If you pull the plug on Troy Weaver, and I'm not defending Troy Weaver's job. I'm not. I'm not defending Monty Williams. But what I'm saying is, if you're gonna pull a plug like that, you would damn well better have a succession plan already in place. There's a term in my youth that I would have to use right now to really probably indict the ownership of the franchise. But right now, they're simply doofus. You know, and you can spell doofus any way that you want, but that's what's up here. It's rudderless nonsense. You know, it is. It makes no sense. I mean, Trajan Langton. If you don't soon, I mean, you don't have a coach, and you're going to the rookie league. So that means the president of basketball operations is interpreting players through the philosophy of the way that he wants to play, and that had better merge with the guy that he hires. It has to, or it's a recipe for disaster. Now, look, he went to Duke. I'll give him credit. They understand the game of basketball, both on the floor and off. I get all that. But let's be real for a second, Piston fan. You ain't got no time for him to figure this out. And he's not being helped by his ownership group. That's the problem. The problem with the Pistons are they're not going to get out of the way of themselves until they get out of the way of themselves. You know, you gotta have a vision for championship success. I can't say that. I keep seeing a bunch of blind stabs in the dark. Let's throw some stuff up against the wall and see if it sticks. And unfortunately, I think at this moment in time, and it could change. It could change dramatically. But at this moment in time, when I look at what the Pistons are doing, they're just rudderless right now. You can't expect me to, if I'm a season ticket holder, uh drop some shutter down for a whole full season package. Now I'm going down to the arena to hang out and see a few games, but a full season package, what have you done right now to entice me? And to me, okay, to me, that's the bottom line here. We got higher standards than this. Some things are unacceptable. Don't we've dealt with struggles of the Tigers. Okay, got the stadium. Thought the Dombrowski thing was going to work. It did not. And God knows what we've been through with the Pistons. I mean the Lions. My goodness. And here we are, and that's where we're gonna shift gears and talk next hour. We're gonna, it's the countdown to the NFL, y'all. Let's be clear. Football season right around the corner. You're gonna have start having training camps open on the pro side, and you're gonna have media days coming up within the next week throughout college ball. And I'm anxious to see it. And we're gonna even go inside some HBCUs this year, y'all. So if you from HBCU, you always got carte blanche here on the program as we rock on. Anyway, I am so looking forward to this football season on both sides because tweaks to the game should make it interesting, number one. And then number two, most importantly, the fact that you got an NFL that, despite having a dominant dynastic team here, right? It's no guarantee that Kansas City's gonna win it. I'm sorry, folks. Um, I could see a scenario where the the Chiefs get clipped. Championships out there. Anybody's got to win. Of the 32 teams that are in the league right now, I'd have to say 28 of them have a realistic shot. Yeah, you know. And I'll say this: Travis Kelsey's had a great offseason. Let's hope he has a great next season because that's a totally different team without him as Mahomes' um, safety valve. They're gonna make the big plays, but you got to have guys to help you move chains, and that's their guy. And I think they're vulnerable. We'll talk a great deal. You're gonna enjoy next hour's guest, Lloyd Vance from Taking It to the House.com. Lloyd also works with the NFL Films on some consultant stuff, and he also has was a big part of the book Third and a Mile, which chronicled black quarterbacks in the NFL. So we've been talking for years. I'm glad to have him on this program so we can break down, um, who are the factors right now because it's wide open. And the thing about the NFL is that and this is what you have to marvel at Kansas City and New England in particular, how they've been able to keep it together and win with the changes in salary cap. I mean, the numbers, you can buy championships now. Okay, there's a lot of money even with a salary cap. And you look at what New England was able to do for that 20-year stretch. It's amazing. Kansas City keeping it together right now, even more amazing because the real big money is there. And I mean, they just keep winning up. We don't need Tariq Hill. We just go right down and get us another guy, plug him right in, and boom, there it is. They're amazing. It's some amazing organizational stuff that's going on that have put teams on the brink. Lions being one of them. Okay, and it's really good. I think it's fair, and a lot of people we're having conversations about, and there's no guarantee that you can get back to where you were this year in this era of the NFL. And I think Baltimore and Detroit are right out there on those teams that you wonder, are they good enough to get back again and finally get over the hump? And I think there's more pressure if you just reduce it down to those two teams on Baltimore than there is um, on Detroit. I mean, almost playing with fool's gold with Detroit. I mean, really. Now, we would like to see Super Bowl, okay? And you tasted the nectar, and you just couldn't have it all last year. Anyway, we going wall to wall football in the next hour. You should stick around and join us. I am Mark Gray. It is Sportsrap Radio Detroit 1270. I got you. What is the deal? One down, one to go. We circling the wagons. We are ready to go as we celebrate Good Black Job Day here on Sports Rap Radio Detroit. I'm happy I got one, and I do feel safe that I'm in the, inside the borders. I'm not worried that, somebody from another country is going to take my job. I'm not worried about that, you know. Anyway, just to put it out there. Now, y'all know I'm a baseball guy by, by heart. So, every once in a while, there are big black moments that have happened throughout the course of baseball history that fall on the date of my show. And one of them is in 1978, where Willie McCovey became the 12th player in Major League history to hit 500 home runs. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough. The Braves beat the Giants in Atlanta 10-5 in the second game of a doubleheader. But big ups to Willie McCovey. Also in black baseball history on this day, Bo Jackson. Bo knows. Now see that y'all got to Google him if you of a certain age. Go Bo was, I mean, I can't even put into words what Bo was going to be if he'd have pulled off. He'd have been the first two-sport Hall of Famer ever. He would have been a Hall of Famer as a running back for the Raiders. He would have been a Hall of Fame baseball players for the Royals. Other black baseball history in 1995. Eddie Murray of the Cleveland Indians became the second switch hitter and just the 20th player in baseball history to reach 3,000 hits against the Minnesota Twins. That put him in the rarefied air with guys like Pete Rose. Wow. The only switch hitters to ever get 3,000 hits. Now, see, that's the one thing. I think that kind of got lost uh in Rickwood last week, and when I just wanted to get that out. When you got more black umpires than you have more black players in the lineup, that kind of says something when you celebrate Negro League baseball, right? It's like, wow. I'm not quite sure what it says, but you can check out Debatable on MLBBro.com, where me and Manny Brown get into it about that. I would like to see a little bit more. But that also goes back to that French Connection thing. Don't be surprised. And I'm gonna tell you, and we're gonna talk again. I promise we will talk football a little bit later on. But in many respects, I have to say what we're seeing with the infusion of basketball talent dates back to the Olympics, and I want to say it was in 2002. I could be wrong, you know, could be wrong, but Larry Brown had an opportunity to kind of diffuse this foreign impact of basketball, but he didn't want to play. And I'm talking about the Larry Brown, the year the Pistons won the title and beat the Lakers after Kobe Bryant had his unfortunate turn of events in Eagle, Colorado. Okay, so um, Kobe couldn't play, so they put LeBron and Carmelo Anthony on Team USA, and this was a okay Team USA. I'm trying to think, but Larry Brown, Tim Duncan was on that team. I remember, and he couldn't figure out how to play international basketball, and they fouled him out in just about every game. Okay, and nobody could knock down the 3-point shot. So you didn't have your big, and you weren't built to play international basketball. And instead of taking advantage, and ironically enough, Carmelo Anthony would be on that team and ultimately become the all-time leading scorer in U.S. Olympic basketball history. Right? So it's crazy. So they went over there, and Greg Popovich was the assistant coach, and I don't think he liked the way that Larry Brown handled it. Larry Brown got into shouting matches and stuff like that with coaches from other teams, and ultimately USA came back with the bronze medal. And I remember the great legendary coach John Thompson of Georgetown University saying once on his radio show that if that Olympics didn't break right, that you were going to see this infusion of talent from overseas, and you were going to start seeing fewer Black American players in the game. Now, this is 20 years ago, easy, that he makes this assessment. I'm thinking, wow, but he'll never do that because you're going to always go back to basketball in the hood. And why do I say basketball is going to begin to outsource like baseball is? If you're not playing on a travel team on an elite circuit, chances are you'll be lucky to get a mid-major scholarship at best. Right. We've gone in that direction. Great athletes used to come out of the hood, right? Great athletes used to just come from nowhere. Now you got to come from privilege. And when you look at that compared to the opportunities that the unprivileged foreign athletes are getting these days, and I'm telling you, France, look, Tony Parker has his own academy. And if you don't know who Tony Parker is, he was the point guard for all of those championship teams that Greg Popovich was winning. Okay. Let's be clear about that. So, Tony, who is from France, has built the elite basketball academy in France. Trouble is, if you can't afford or you're not picked up by that academy, you got to fend for yourselves. Same thing going on in the world right now with the uh, Black players in basketball in France. They're getting trained, they're getting schooled. The government is subsidizing a lot of these skills. They obviously knew that this was going to be the showcase moment for them coming up in a couple of weeks when the Olympics begin, and they're going to be ready. And to me, as a lifelong devout USA basketball apologist, okay, and I'm old enough to remember the 1972 cheating scandal where the Russians won, and the Americans never accepted the silver medal, which was good for them. But that was so much cheating that was going on. Now I'm just looking at the French, and I think that they got a better basketball operation that is conducive to winning the gold medal. I think USA basketball has become more of a marketing influence than it has been a positive influence on the development of the game. I mean, if you're going to take away the AAU model and you're going to put everybody under USA basketball, then what happens to the kids that can't get to the elite USA basketball level? Are we leaving them out? I mean, everybody talks about Angel Reese as a perfect example. Angel Reese came from the hood, but she got the opportunities to compete against the best, and then they found out she was that girl. Okay, I grew up in that neck of the woods. Me and Ronnie Duncan know a lot about how those things play out. So when you put everything into the mix, you've got nations now, particularly France. France and African nations are going to dominate basketball within the next 10 years. I'm telling you, it's going to be that way, and you just got to get ready for it. We've seen the French invasion. We thought it was going to be Greek. Heck, even Giannis made the team give a spot to his brother, and he's from Greece. And again, I think it has a lot to do with this load management, self-centered, it's all about me and my brand nonsense that the brothers are playing with, and they're bringing in with this 18 to 24-year-old mindset to simply take over the league without earning it. Everybody got their shoe now. Nobody had a shoe when Michael Jordan came along. He introduced that aspect. Now everybody gets one for free. That's like everybody getting a trophy in sports. We want to rub everybody's shoulders and make them feel good. Hey, you get cut, you got to come back. Jordan did, and he is still the GOAT. I'm just saying. So just get ready for it. And this is going to justify it when Team USA doesn't get the gold medal. I have a very, very bad feeling about this team. Now I know LeBron and AD are going to go over there and they're going to play big. You're going to have Steph Curry on that team, but those guys have seen, right? Those guys have seen it all. Those guys are. It's not like when you're going to the Olympics in what was that, 92 with the Dream Team. You ain't gonna see that. Everybody was scared of Jordan. These guys coming over here balling, looking at the face of looking at Steph. I got you tonight, Steph. you know, or put a big guy out there on South. He may not be able to get his jump shot off. Anyway, we got plenty of time to break down Olympic basketball later on in the program, but I do want to make it a point. And these really, I mean, this is how the NFL gets you, because I'm not going to buy into that ESPN nonsense. Okay. You won't have me get upset anymore about illogical prognostications of Dallas Cowboy fortune. It doesn't work. I made a lot of money last year, figuratively speaking, of course, going against the cowpokes, the cow chips, because that's what they are right now. All right, I've had enough. And Dak's gonna get his money. Give him his money. Give him his commercials. You will not give him the Vince Lombardi Trophy. All right, you can give him everything he wants. He'll never get the trophy. Okay, let's just say that. Can he get the? I mean, Jalen Hurts went into that division and punked him straight up. You say, "Oh, it's my league now. Oh, it's my division. I got this." Dak's still whining. I got I'm up for the challenge. Yeah, well, okay. Well, win the challenge, fool. Win it. So you're not gonna. So I've even stopped for these dog days of sports watching those morning shows. Just not gonna do it unless it's quick pitch by MLB Network. I ain't watching. I'm serious. I because every year we hear the same old convoluted argument. And what's getting to me in this whole situation that we're dealing with right now is the whole notion, right, that this team, A, is America's team, and you either love them or you hate them, but B, they're the most underachieving franchise based upon the amount of hype, and I'm not buying it this year. I'm not going to let it get up under my skin. Look, we know y'all stink. All right, we know y'all going to crash and burn. You'll look real good until Thanksgiving, and then the bottom will fall out. Okay, that's it. But the thing that I find fascinating about the North and the NFC is the fact that it could go anyway. And the scary part about it for me is you have to favor the Lions. It's always good when you're coming from off the lead, or there isn't an expectation there. But yeah, there it is. How do you come back from the disappointment of last year? we'll talk about that and other things NFL related with Lloyd Vance from takingittothehouse.com as the Mark Gray Show continues on Sports Rap Radio Detroit 1270. Got it. Okay. Speaking of the comeback, can the Detroit Lions, that's right, come back once again from the heartache and the disappointment of last year's ending of the season to where we are right now? I mean, think about it. Expectations all time high, and it's unbelievable how much anticipation there is in the community when you get right down to it. I mean, there's a buzz, there's an energy. It's almost as though, well, the uh you know how it is. It's a little bit easier to take it when the Tigers are struggling because you got the Lions to look forward to. There is a light at the end of the tunnel, you know? So all things considered, I think that's where we are right now with this whole look at the Lions from a macro perspective. And again, we are efforting to track down Lloyd Vance right now, so we can start breaking down uh, comprehensively as only we do. Anyway, but I guess that's where I am with them. All right, and like I said, speaking of Detroit and the Tigers, call Baltimore. They have assets. You probably could get two players for one right now because they're desperate to win. I know these things. I feel them things. I've talked to a couple people too. Anyway, my thing is this. When you go into this camp and I'm looking to first off, you can talk all you want about the pass rush, and you got the guy in the front seven in Hutchinson that can be a beast. He's a beast mode type of player, right? But I'm thinking he can't get there. Certainly later in the season, you're gonna need your secondary to cover. You're gonna find yourself in a moment where you've got to be able to simply find a person in the moment that can get some stops on that back end. And looks like we're going to be checking in with Lloyd at about coming up around the bottom of the hour. So that means we got plenty of time for you to join us on our quality radio product here. Well, at least according to me. If I don't think it's quality, who will? Anyway, so we will continue to move it along. Lloyd's going to join us around 4:30 as we rock on. But it's interesting to note, like, when you got so much talent and you got so much expectation, that means the balloon is extremely high. Okay. So what I'm saying is let's just look back at some of the teams who let's look back at some of the teams who've had brushes with championship success. And guys, we've got to track down Lloyd about right now. I'm getting the buzz. There's some confusion on the rundown. So can somebody make a call and make sure that we straight? Thanks. Anyway, um, you got teams who seem to lose big moments, right? And never really able to get back. And that is what sort of, I guess, tempers my overabundant enthusiasm here, because on paper everything is in place, right? Everything. You just you have a feeling that this is the time. But there were other teams who felt as though it was their time and it didn't work out. Okay? Just think about it. Detroit, I'm sorry, Seattle has never gotten back. Never gotten back since the ill-fated pass interception by Russell Wilson in the end zone. They say they got the look that they wanted. It was the play that they wanted to run. Despite the fact that beast mode was running through people at the time, the Legion and Boom went bust after that Super Bowl loss. Haven't been the same franchise. I mean, they had a little bit of success last year, but I mean, I don't think that you go into Seattle fearing them as much as you once did. Same thing happened with the Atlanta Falcons. You're up by what, 25 on New England going into the fourth quarter and you blow it? Just give it away. Now that was a choke job. That wasn't a bunch of bad breaks. That was first off, why are you throwing the football in a certain situation with a quarterback that and Matt Ryan, who was having an MVP season, but you never were going to win the big one on his arm. You thought you would, but it never did happen. We see it. We see it happen all the time. Those two franchises, Seattle and Atlanta, haven't been the same really since franchise altering losses in a championship moment. Okay? Now, that brings us to this year's candidate to never get back. And admittedly, I know there's some folks around the country catching it on the stream or whatever, but I'm that dude that believes that Baltimore won't get back to the AFC Championship game this year. I know. Now, there's certain places, having grown up in that area, that I won't be able to go into for making that assessment. But I don't think that they're going to be better than they were last year. You can't have a better situation than Baltimore had last year. They were at home. They had home field advantage. Their defense held Patrick Mahomes scoreless, and their offense couldn't get it done. They couldn't run the football. They forgot about the passing game. They forgot about creative offense in the moment. They had all these backs. They had Dalvin Cook on the bench. He didn't get any burn. You had Odell Beckham Jr. He didn't get any run. I mean, you look at teams that end up in circumstances like that, and it makes you wonder, will they ever get over the hump? You leave a crack open for Patrick Mahomes, he'll get you. He'll gut you. And so where does disappointment and failure will make you better, stronger, and tougher if you've got the mental fortitude to handle it, right? And that's where we are with the Lions right now. It's not about talent, you know, it's about executing in the moment. And I tell a lot of people who have been giving me grief about my perception of Baltimore that I've seen this before. I've seen quarterbacks have that one moment and never get back. And so you do have to wonder about Jared Goff, who was a bit of a journeyman type before he got to Detroit. I mean, remember the swaps? Stafford to the Super Bowl, Goff to Detroit. It happens. And you have to be concerned about that. And again, it's not about schemes. It's not about coaching. Hey, the league needs more Dan Campbell's coaching. All right. You see how he connects with his players. You see how his team plays with confidence and an edge. They were damn sure weren't doing that for Rob Marinelli. Y'all remember how it was? It was like, oh God, we're being served up on this Sunday again here. Let's go take the L in Chi. Let's go take the L in Green Bay. Let's go take the L in Minneapolis. I mean, come on, man. We've been down that road. And that's the thing that bothers me with critics of Big Dan. Look, you got to change the culture and you got to go in there with energy and confidence. And that's what he brings to the team. What more do you want? Complacency? Acceptance of your futility? No, it's not. You got to come in setting a tone, and he's done that. Keeping the tone is one thing, but there's something about this guy's energy, his force. He's never going to lose the locker room. Okay, he's never going to do that. You'll never see that Martinelli type mutiny that you've seen in the past. Anyway, next up, we are going to go deep inside the NFL with Lloyd Vance as we continue on Sports Rap Radio. I'm Mark Gray. What's up? Yeah, I told Lloyd at 4:20, and you put it in at 4:32. So did you call him? All right, all right, that's it. All right, bye. Cool, got it. I'm Mark Gray as we continue Saturday afternoon in the D. Joined right now by a good friend from takingittothehouse.com. His name is Lloyd Vance, veteran NFL reporter, among the credits, NFL Network, third in a mile. Lloyd, always a pleasure, bro. How are you? Always a pleasure. All right, let's get right to it, man. All right, we were chronicling before the break how, we've seen teams who weren't able to bounce back from fatal losses in championship situations, such as the Legion of Boom. They haven't been quite the same since Russell Wilson's interception by Malcolm Butler. You've had the Falcons who blew the 28-3 lead in the Super Bowl, and then you got a team like the Ravens who's got to get over the disappointment of what went down in the AFC Championship game. And here we are with the Lions. Expectations very very high, but how big a factor do you think the psyche of losing the way that they did in the NFC Championship plays into this season? All right. So where do you think the holes are that they got to shore up in order to, win that one more game to play for the ultimate prize? And what do you make about him? I mean, heck of a learning curve to get this thing started. But are you shocked that he's been able to have this kind of success? And what's the vibe about, around the league about, preparing to play a Dan Campbell team? Lloyd Vance with us from taking it the number two to house.com. We talking NFL here of the Lions variety. And about Jared Goff for a second. What do you make of him taking that championship step now? I mean, we know he got the tools. We know in a different environment how his learning curve has led him to be within a game of the Super Bowl. Right now, it becomes making those plays in that moment. Did you see enough of him last year in the moment, handling the moment better than he had to lead you to believe that this year he'll take another step? And the fact that Detroit has the starting quarterback from last year, it seems like everybody else in the division is in transition, with the exception of Green Bay. So if you playing fantasy football, right? Who's the best quarterback in that division? Is it Goff or is it Love? So with Cousins now gone to Atlanta, right? How does that shake up the entire division in your opinion? I mean, if you're going to seat 1 through 4, Chicago, is going to be probably relying on a rookie quarterback. How do you see this division? Do you favor the Lions going in? That's my man, Lloyd Vance, taking it the number two to house.com, NFL and football insider extraordinaire. Bro, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. You always coming strong. Take it easy. Anyway, we got more of what you came here for on the other side as the Mark Gray Show continues on Sports Rap Radio 1270. Got it. Gotcha. All right, we tagging up and get ready to head for home. I am Mark with a K, Gray with an A. I call me Mark Gray. It is the Mark Gray Show here on Sports Rap Radio. And I've been beating this. Well, first off, I want you to go to MLBBro.com and I want you to check out Debatable. Now, if you want a quicker process, you can also find me on social media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Uh, But we floating the notion now on something, and I'll get back to the Tigers and the Orioles because the Tigers need to contact the Orioles. I mean, let's be real for a second. Orioles are in desperate need of an arm, right? They're still in second place, despite the fact that they've lost three starters: Kyle Bradish, John Means, and Tyler Wells. So they are desperate because they are a team that thinks they have what it takes to win right now. I'm front office. I got to make a call to see if we can move Jack Flaherty back to them because when you look in their organization right now, despite the fact that you've got Gunnar Henderson, who's probably going to be the American League starter at shortstop, he's got 25 home runs. That is ridiculous. Okay. And let's see, they got Jackson Holiday, who's the number one rated prospect and in the organization or in baseball. They've got the 12th ranked in Samuel Basallo, number 18 in Kobe Mayo, and number 20 in Heston Kjerstad. Hey, look, you got an opportunity to trade a pitcher and get two prospects because you want to win now. And desperate moves oftentimes leads to quick phone call deals. I'm telling you, if Detroit can get their hands on either one of them, because the Jackson Holiday thing is going to be a real interesting one to watch play out. Is he out there because he came up and he was a dud earlier, so they sent him back down. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But if I'm Detroit, I'm picking up the phone call and I'm calling Mike Elias. I am. That you know, hey man, move an asset, get a couple players, and then you contend in a year or two. At the very latest. Come on, man. At least that's one man's approach. I'd be looking for the future right now. Forget it. And again, it's not as painful a pill for us to swallow because hope springs eternal with football. I mean, let's be real for a second. The time is now, right? I forgot who said that. Why not now? Why not us? Right. Well, why not? I mean, why can't Detroit go to the Super Bowl? I think that would be great for the league. You talking about one of the league's oldest franchises going to the Super Bowl? It would be great. I guarantee you one thing: there wouldn't be enough tickets for the fan base to go down where to New Orleans. You earn the right to go to New Orleans. And I think that the NFC to me is far more wide open. Well, football is wide open. The AFC is defined by who's going to knock Kansas City off, and we've seen Joe Burrow do that with the Cincinnati Bengals. The thing now is, all right, what's Detroit going to be like in terms of being the hunted now? Okay, it was a cute, wonderful story. It was like, oh wow, the team that doesn't or can't now finally does. Okay, great. We good with that. Now do it. That is the big and that is the transition that we gotta, start up committing yourselves to. Is it Super Bowl or bust that is a successful season? I mean, because theoretically, I mean, they're as good as anybody in the conference, if not better than most. I mean, I could see Philadelphia and Detroit in the NFC Championship game this year. Very, very easily. Very. With home field advantage probably determining who goes to the Super Bowl. I'm not quite sure that you're going to be able to win a conference championship game in Philly outdoors with those people. And they're a different breed in Philly. Oh yeah, everything you've heard about the Philadelphia fan is absolutely correct. So you take that aspect out, then you got to go outside to play the game. Although, you know, being outdoors, having played in the North Division, is nothing for them. But I'm all in 100% on this notion that the time is now, because the windows in the NFL close and you get intoxicated by the dominance of, say, like the Patriots or like the Chiefs right now. That don't happen. The leagues, that's what makes them so great, is because the league is set up not to have dynasties. Right. Imagine that. It's set up not, and so that what is really what is making what New England did in retrospect, but they had Brady, and if that doesn't personify, if you've got that quarterback who is that dude, you can dominate for an indefinite period of time. And we had a lot of quarterbacks coming to the league, and it'll be interesting to see. We now know that Jordan Love is that dude in the in the division coming back right now. I mean, that's got to be, that's the shiny new car on it. And it's always been a challenge for everybody to go into Green Bay and win. And it'll be interesting to see with a seasoned Jordan Love how that all plays out. Because when Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers were there, you could pretty much pencil in an L. I mean, really. Now, I don't know about that. I think I you know, I think quite frankly, Detroit can roll in and bully everybody for a hot minute when their game is on. Now again, learning curve, Chicago and Caleb Williams. I, you know, they pushed Justin Fields out there, I think, 1 year too early. And I think that Chicago, in making that draft pick, set themselves back a year. All right. So you transitional quarterback in Minnesota, rookie quarterback in Chicago. That means to me, if you shrink it down to lowest terms, it's the Lions and the Packers vying for the top spot. Everybody else is hoping they can qualify for that last playoff spot, because two, in my opinion, two teams out of the NFC North are going to make the playoffs this year. I only think the South is going to get one, and I think you may get two teams out of the East Division. So I think that'd take you to your what 16, 12 team playoff with it. Yeah. So I can see it happening in a scenario like that. It's going to be a tough division. It's going to be black and blue all over again. But the best team coming back, at least on paper, and I'm talking about both sides of the ball, all three aspects of the game, for the North Division purposes only, I gotta roll with Detroit. Anything less would be disappointing. Really, too much upside. But can Jared Goff find that next level game? Because we saw that there was another next level game to Matt Stafford once he got to the Rams, right? As soon as he got to the Rams, it was a totally different story. It was like boom. Next thing you know, Super Bowl. How about that? Now you can't tell me that you saw that. There were glimmers of hope at times, but for the most part, it was disappointing. And that wasn't all his fault. This is a totally different time. I know it's hard to let go. I know it's almost difficult to conceive, but I mean, you look at a wide open NFC, I can see that, I don't want to call it. I'm not going to call my shot. There's still, you got to go through playing a training camp, and you never know who may or may not get hurt and things like that. Um, And then sometimes there is no magic that comes back from a year. That could happen too. But this team just is built in a way that you got to start banking on a spot for them in the playoffs. I'm sorry. I mean, man, I'm trying to be objective as possible here, and there's too many strengths and not enough weaknesses. So when I'm looking at Detroit now, I'm thinking to myself, wow, am I ready to say that that's the team to beat in the NFC? Now again, Kirk Cousins is going to have something to say about Atlanta. He'll probably blow through the worst division in football, the AFC South. I'm sorry, the NFC South. Just, I mean, New Orleans was crap. Tampa wasn't any good after Brady. Just bad. But I still don't think that any team that comes out of the South, even with Kirk Cousins, even if you have to go beat them in the dome, is all that intimidating. So, yeah, you should have high expectations. You really should. Anyway, that's going to do it for me. I am Mark Gray. Thanks for hanging out. It's been the Mark Gray Show on Sports Rap Radio. Thanks to John and Devon for keeping me in line. And I'll holler back at you next week. Deuces up. Thanks for watching. I'm out.